I hope everyone had a good weekend. We are going to be working on... Well, I guess it's not much a show right now, is there? We're working on The Castle Keeper's Guide by Trollord Games, and it's basically going to be a collection of 12 settlement maps going from a hamlet, village, small town, large town, city with walls. You get the idea. In fact, they're right here. Thorp, Keeper Tower, Hamlet, Morton Bailey. And they're each at different sizes, and we're doing them on one big grid. Basically, one big huge piece of paper that's about 22 inches by 28 inches. And each one of those large panels right there represents a page for Trollord Games. And then, they'll have like whatever going around them. So if we lay out 9 pages and we section them out to the individual settlements, we end up with something like this. And I'm doing it like this as versus 12 separate maps, because I actually think it'd be kind of cool to A, see them all side by side as we're going, and then B, would that make a cool poster? Like, wouldn't that be, like, once we've got all of the thorps and the hamlets and the towns and the castles and everything drawn in, wouldn't that be kind of like super sexy? So I don't know if my machine currently will handle it, but I've got a new machine coming in that definitely will, she says. But the plan is one map, one super map with 12 different subject matters on it. And while this wasn't originally intended, I think there was an opportunity to draw a thorp, take it up into a hamlet, take it up into a village, and show a level of growth as we go. So I think that's going to be the plan. Also though, we will be doing a little bit of reverse engineering. So I have some towns and cities that have not been used before. Trollord would like to use them. I think we could totally start with them and do some modifications to them. So I'm tempted to actually drop in a city and then actually reverse engineer it down to a town, down to a village, down to a hamlet, and sketch kind of then what we want to have covered under each one. Because one of the towns I've actually got in mind has a Morton Bailey castle on it. And I think we could use that to then expand into a a full-on greater castle, So I actually think that we could almost do one city and cover all of this. And wouldn't it actually be kind of cool if we did like a military camp, a 45 military camp on the outskirts or something? So I'm actually tempted to grab a city that I've already done, which we will touch up and change, drop that into the city spot, maybe the metropolis spot, and go from there. And then kind of start pulling back. Also, I want to draw frames for these suckers. I know it's like a frame could almost come last, but I'm kind of itching. I'm jonesing to draw some frames on these suckers for some reason, and I can't explain why. I've got this very simple design in my head, and I want to put it on paper. So we'll see. We'll see. So today we're going to be doing the second episode of this, and we're just going to see where we go. And so we've got all of those. Let's group them together. So them are labels, and they're kind of just temporary labels, right? And I got my guides. These are my guides. And I think I will just drop the opacity on them a little bit, because we don't need them to be too noticeable. Something like that. Now the question is, do we work on frames? No, you know what? Let's grab a city first. Let's grab a city. And we'll decide if it's going to be our city or our metropolis. I think it might be our city. And I've kind of got an eye on one. Now I've got my eye in too. Now I've got my eye in too. Alright, well I can actually show you what I'm talking about. So if I redrew the darks, got rid of all of these lines. This is how I used to do water, by the way. This is a very old map. Get rid of all of that. This is like an unfinished map. We can like redraw these hills in the style that I currently do. This could probably be a metropolis. And I think, stylistically, this is kind of the approach we have to do. We've got plenty of opportunity for throwing a military camp on the outside. Plenty of opportunity for actually... Well, we've got even a fortified city here, right? A fortified town. So I think maybe we could do something like this. And there's a river, so we could say, in fact, there's a split of a river, almost like a little bit of a delta, like a large island here. Looking at this, unless it was actually sort of crafted, it's just like a moat that they created at some point. So we could actually maybe pick up on this river here, maybe throw down in one of these areas, kind of like the thorp, where it all starts. And I kind of actually wanted to get the definition of a thorp, but maybe we do the thorp here, and then we grow it into a village, and maybe this, or down here, this becomes our old town, right? And then we expand from there. Maybe this becomes the original sort of town. Maybe that would be a good metropolis. There's also this. Now I would completely redraw this section. I don't draw like this anymore. But this could be interesting, because I actually like, the other map could have some spillover too. But what I like about this is, this could actually be inland. I do a lot of stuff on the coast, and this could be a nice inland one, a meeting of two rivers. And we could pick up on, let's say, even this area here. This is where, like, the thorp and the village grows. Something like that. The thing about that is I don't think that looks like a metropolis, while that one does. So if we go this route, this maybe would be our city, and I would have to zoom out and do a whole bunch of extra drawing around it. But I'm tempted. I'm tempted by that. That's another option. But also here, that's Mott and Bailey. Right there. So that would be kind of a cool, like, castle to then draw Mott and Bailey wise. Hey, Miss J! Yeah, but Thorpe actually, so the Chivalry and Sorcery book actually has the definition for Thorpe in it. Thorpe, hamlet, and village. They are different sizes of the same thing, but they actually have, like, the typical population of buildings that you would find in a Thorpe. So I'm definitely going to get that. Plus, we are drawing a Thorpe, we are drawing a hamlet, and we are drawing a village. So we got to try and distinguish between them. Well, you know what? Hold on a sec. Hold on. The Chivalry and Sorcery rulebook, back in the day, was unusable as a rule set. But the beautiful thing about it is it was actually a really good resource. Like, if I want to know about the Chivalric Code, this has all about it here. Clerics, tournaments, let's try this one. Because this is literally the book of medieval times, just in fantasy role-playing versions. Well, that's a creation of characters, so I wonder if it's... What's in this one? Magic, magicians, magic combat, demons, beasts, blah, 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 blah. Let's take a look at this one. Let's take a look at this one. Like, it has lists of even occupations, and bureaucracy too, like a county, a shire, a town, a province, a chancery, a chamber, an exchequer, and the different titles that would fall within it. Like a shire has a High Lord Sheriff, Lord Justice of High Courts, Constable of the Royal Castle. I loved this book when I was younger. I was going to say it's really well researched. Let's just say they got a lot of information. So, here we go. So we've got Interior Manor, Frontier Manor, Holdings of Knights and Bannerets, different types of castles, Baronial Holdings, alright, Villages and Towns, and various populations. Even London. London back in the day, medieval terms, only had a population of 23,314 apparently. That doesn't seem right. Based upon poll tax returns, AD 1377. I thought it was oddly specific. Poll tax, okay. And then they've got, according to population, if there'd be a wall or citadel. I thought they had thorp, etc. defined in it. We may have to hit the Google. We may need to hit the Google. Different types of weapons and armor. And pages falling out because this was a well-used book. Chateau, large castle, great castle, shell keeps. Oh, maybe this book doesn't have the chart that I thought it had. Maybe I am misremembering, because the brain does do funny things like that. It's particularly my brain. Yeah, alright, maybe it doesn't. I am actually a little disappointed that my brain would trick me so. Okay. So let's get rid of that. Well, you know what? We don't need it just yet. We don't need it just yet. So I'm gonna come back to that. Not that one. Not that one. That map is like 40 years old. I was really tempted to throw this in as the metropolis, but you can't see anything, and it's large. It's actually larger than one of the Trollord things, so this would be just a big blob on the page. So you can't use that. It's one of the largest maps I've ever drawn right there. Alright, well, I'm tempted to use one of these two. I'm really tempted to use one of these two. What did Mr. A say? Origin of Thorp. Middle English. Okay, I got a village, beam structure, dwelling. Alright, well, I mean, it's cool knowing the origin and everything, but I need to know more than that. So, like, am I drawing one house? Am I drawing two? Is it 2 to 3 houses that make a thorp? There's got to be a definition out there. And what is the difference between a thorp and a hamlet? There has to be somewhere that's documented. At least for our purposes, right? Like, a thorp can't be one house, or can it? Is it some dude in a small little field that he's got out back? Which one of these do I want to use? I'm really tempted to use this one. Only because it's so unfinished. And we could redraw sections, right? It's just, I don't like the fact that it's actually on what looks like an estuary, because I always draw estuaries. But maybe that's not too much of a problem. Let's start with this one. Let's start with this one. So what is that? 412.2. Alright. Hey Dyson! What's intense? The music? Me? What's intense? This? The grid? Life. Life. Is it life, Dyson? That's intense. Wow. Look at the aspect ratio of what I used to draw. I used to draw on legal size paper. I don't know why I drew on legal, but no. Let me take that back. It wasn't legal. It was A4, and apparently A4 is very different aspect ratio wise. really different. I think that would be a good metropolis right there. I really do. I'm gonna grab that. I'm gonna drag it underneath our guides, and then we'll play around with that. How you doing there anyway, Dyson? Dyson, I mean, you've seen what I do. I used to draw very much like you, my friend. I mean, the quality of work is kind of like, you know, shit compared to nowadays. These are 40 years old when I'm bringing up here, and apparently Windows doesn't want to bring that one up at all. So fuck you, Windows. But yeah, these are old maps for the most part, anyway. You're gonna. And this was all ink on paper. A little unimaginative in some ways, but hey, 40 years ago, what can you do? That's kind of the brand, right? We draw nuts. We don't not literally nuts, and not nuts, because that's like a whole different type of channel. But no, I do the ridiculous. I'm gonna go with that for the metropolis. I am, but I'm not sure about the rotation of it. I mean, ultimately. Are you going to let me rotate Photoshop? You rotate all the effing time. There we go. Alright. So they could actually have it in their book like that, which is kind of cool. There's a good look. I think we'll shrink it down a little bit. And we can always draw in what's missing. I don't want to do too much drawing on a metropolis. But I guess if I want to get on everything, including the castle over there, we could do something like that. And then I'll just draw in all of the gaps. You know, we'll do something like this. That will be our metropolis right there. I think that's a good metropolis. And then we could take a castle out of there, and we'll do the castle right here. Alright. So I guess I'm not too struck by this whole river estuary thing. But if we stick up here, we could have a river and then do thorp, the hamlets, etc. based on the river and grow from there. So let's see if we can find it, Miss J. Let's see if we can find it. Alright. You know what? Maybe it's difference. Oh, I literally typed in difference and Google suggested difference between thorp and hamlet. What the fuck? Hamlet is a small village, thanks, or a group of houses, while a thorp is a group of houses standing together in the country. What? Alright, we're about to get our learn on right here, and then we're going to hit up Wikipedia too. Right, Miss J? Right? I mean, there's certain things in life that make you go, Right? I literally typed in difference between, and it was like between thorp and hamlet. I'm like, how? Come on. There's a lot of searches that would be different between, and it wouldn't be between thorp and hamlet. So, according to this site, WikiDiff, A hamlet is a small village or group of houses, while a thorp is a group of houses in the country. A small village, a hamlet, or a thorp. What the hell? I think we're gonna almost have to just make up our bloody minds here. Right, yeah, you obviously went to the wiki. This is where you got the origin from. Right, I mean, the etymology is kind of cool. But, here we go. Thorps often appear, in role-playing games. Okay, well, that's fine. Appear in role-playing games as the smallest form of permanent habitation. Thorps in Dungeons and Dragons, this is on the wiki, are defined as having between 20 to 80 people. That seems large for Thorp, but okay. While those in Pathfinder have 20 or less, I tend to concur with Pathfinder. Hamlets in these games are the next most populous, having 81 to 40 or 21 to 60. I like the Pathfinder definition. I wonder if I could find the Pathfinder writer. I have a lot of Pathfinder books over there. Like a lot, but I wouldn't even know where to begin looking for this. And you don't want to watch 2 hours me flipping through freaking books. That would be ridiculous. So if I did Pathfinder Thorp, here we go. Settlements, Pathfinder reference document. Yeah, let's open that up. Let's add. And then there's a Pathfinder wiki template city. Okay, let's open that up. Oh, and there's a settlement creator. Okay, let's open that up. So, here we go. So, this Miss J, because I think by the way, you're 100% right. I think it becomes down to entomology, right, for the large point. But I like this type of chart right here. So if we got a Thorp, fewer than 20 people, that would make a Thorp, and in my head, a Thorp is like 3 or 4 buildings. So if we use this, I kind of like this. That's going to be, I think, our template for this. And then it's got some like role-playing hooks. Now, the thing is though, Dungeons and Dragons, this is going to be a 5e book. Shit. So even if I disagree with it, we probably have to use the 5e definition. Shit. Alright. I don't agree with that, but okay. Our objective for today is going to be defining how many buildings we want to have in these population sizes, and we'll get the frog gods, troll lords to sign off. Alright, well, we can't use Pathfinder, even though I prefer the Pathfinder definition. Okay, so Dungeons and Dragons Thorp. Should have done this off camera, didn't have time. Gaming terminology. Okay, let's open that up. Then they've got Forgotten Realms. Well, yeah, you know what? Let's open up Forgotten Realms. Forgotten Realms is a good one to use as reference, right? Yeah, okay, let's do that. A Thorp. A Thorp is the smallest form of village, and it should be used to refer to settlements that are 20 to 49 people in size. If we say that each house has 5 people in it, should I do 5 or 6? Let's say 5, easy numbers. That would mean this would be between 4 to 8-ish. 4 to 10 buildings. 4 to 10 buildings would be a Thorp. There's no government, and possibly no businesses. With the reason being nearness, with the reason for nearness often being the most basic one. The members of the budding village are family. Common extensions, blah blah blah. Thorp, Porp. I live in a porp. Dorf and dorp. Miss J, you live in a dorp. Alright. Yep, Miss J, I'm down with you. Down with that. So let's, you know, what's the best way of us doing this? What's the best way of us doing this? I think what we can do is we could turn off our colouring type. Well, we're going to make this actually really faint. That's what we're going to do with that. Alright. And then our labels, I think we can make them really faint for now. Is that my labels? That's not my labels. Let's go to our labels. Alright, and then let's sketch this sucker out. Let's do it that way. Let's sketch this. So all members of the same family. Let's get a brush. We'll do it in black. And we're definitely going to make it smaller than that. How about 25? 25 always seems to be a good size. Yeah, for draft purposes. So 25 people, 5 or 7. I like 5. I want this to feel intimate. And if our overall objective is on something like this, then maybe we'll just... We'll say that they were up here, you know? They were up the river a little bit. Maybe there was good fishing up there. So when we eventually draw this, something like... Let's get a glove on. In my head, I like the idea of pretty fertile. So like a family's grown up here, they've got some farms going on, maybe just 1 or 2 fields, and maybe they're next to a river, they could do a little bit of like fishing or something. So when we draw this, and I like doing angles. In fact, let's get rid of that. Maybe we'll offset this a little bit, but we'll have to sort of... Right, with all of this, we've got to get by in, okay? But if we sketch this sucker out... It will also kind of dial in the size too. I actually think that these buildings will be too large. I think that this will be too large. I'm going to make them smaller. I think we'll draw it more like this. This I'm thinking about, you know, we'll make it be a barn or something. Is that too large? Are those buildings too large? I mean, it's on a quarter of a page. I mean, it might be too large. I wanted to get like a little bit of farmland in. Well, you know what? No, hold on a sec. Hold on. Let's move them. Let's move them. If we did something more like this, we get the. Do I still have a select on? There we go. this. We could have like a little bit of a farm going here, so we can have like a suggestion of a farm here. And maybe this comes out. We'll have some paths. This is all family after all. Maybe this is a common sort of fishing area for everyone, so we'll draw in a little path there. And then maybe a house there, which will allow us to maybe, you know, have another farm or something like here. Maybe something like that, and then all of this will be water. That, I think, is a decent size. Hey, noble dwarf! I was talking about you today, young man. I was doing some business planning and your name came up a lot. Yeah, something like this, and maybe what we'll do is we'll have some like just trees here, because I like getting some trees, especially, you know, in a fertile area. Something like that would be kind of like a nice little thorp, right? You certainly wouldn't look at that and say village. Alright, so by that definition, how am I doing? I'm doing fantastic. I am doing well, thank you very much for asking. I will be talking to you here shortly about my hiring of a social media manager, and I will keep you appraised of how that goes. Alright, so we're now going to be doing hamlet. A hamlet is a step upwards from a thorp, with a population of 50 to 199 people. 199 people? I would put that solidly in a village territory. Well, villages have 200 to 1,999. Alright, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to do a rule where when they give us the range, we're going to halve it. And then we're going to assume 5 people per house. That will give us and always lead towards an odd number. So, in the case of a thorp, 20 to 49 people, 30. Divide by 5, 6. Make it odd, 5. That works. For a hamlet, 50 to 100, let's say 50 to 200. So the difference between that, we're back to math again. How the hell we're back to math? All right, so that's 125, right? It's a halfway point. Divided by 5. That seems large for a hamlet. I never would have done that. Okay. So calculator, second stream running. I've got the calculator out. So what we're doing, 125? We said 125. 25 buildings. That seems like a lot, don't you think, for a hamlet? But this is... You know, the D&D definition is a little bit different. But still large. So, quite simply, I must have been going through life thinking the hamlet was a lot smaller. I've known villages in England that haven't got 125 houses. Was it 100? It wasn't 125. What was it? Where's my calculator gone? Did I close my calculator? Oh, is it 25? What was it? Someone help me out here. I'm not paying attention to myself. It was 125, right, for a hamlet? 125. Divided by 5. 25 buildings. Alright, I'm going to keep that out. Don't close that. 25 buildings. Alright. So if we do that, then we could, theoretically, take this. Whoa. Take this. Let's do it properly this time. You take this. Go grab this, duplicate it. 25. Okay, so which could be. I wonder if that would work for size. Alright, so what we'll do is we'll continue the hypothetical river. I'm not sure if this is going to scale up, but we'll say that the river is something like this. Would a hamlet be on the same side of the river? I'm going to put a hamlet on the same side of the river. Maybe with a collection of 1 or 2 on the other side. And they ferry back and forth. They got little rowboats and stuff. And we're looking for 25 buildings. And their farms. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and a barn. 6. 7. 8. Maybe we'll have a little hill or something here. Alright, so 7. Okay, I want to make this kind of interesting too. So I think we'll take our farms up here. We'll get we'll squeeze in another house here. And I like doing houses like this. I like this type of shape of house. So I love getting paint jobs I've ordered. Now I can start shooting my next Kickstarter. Nice! Paint jobs for what? What was that? 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think we'll. Do we get a road? There's got to be some kind of dirt road connecting to the nearest. So I think at this point we're going to add a road. And yeah, this is where the road forms, and there'll be like little dirt tracks going off here. Coming around the back of the house, maybe over time they actually start getting more like this. Alright. 17. Farmer Giles. No, 17. I'm up to 17. So hold on a minute. I will check that out. Fourth width, my friend. Fourth width. But 17, oh, I don't want to lose my count. I think this should be a little bit denser over here. I like the idea of the hamlet breaking over the river. But I'm wondering if I leave that. I'm wondering if I leave that to the village. That's the point. Because a village is gonna be like 1,000 divided by 5, 200 buildings. They've spilt across the river permanently at that point. I'm thinking that I should move this and not focus on the other side of the river yet. I think that the other side of the river, maybe we could start to hint at it. But let's focus on our trusty little villagers, right? So maybe we do more like this. Let's okay, thank you. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. Let's do this. Alright, so we'll kind of hint that they're beginning to think about going on the other side. We'll do a little rowboat or something like that right there. So we've got 17, but I wanna focus, I wanna create this community feel, right? And so let's actually, so this here, so we've got to draw like 8 more buildings, right? And so if we do more farms, we've got to do more. 8 more. So maybe there's a hill or something here, but we'll kind of wind like a dirt trail like up around here. And I think we will do a hill on the opposite side, and at the village stage we're going to throw a windmill on it. But at the hamlet stage they don't want to do that yet. But they're kind of at this point they're ready for it. Alright, so 8 more buildings. One, 2, 3, 4. We'll do little outhouses and everything later when we're drawing this properly. 4, 5, 6. You know what? Let's set one guy back. 6, 7, and up here. I think that would be good. That has a nice shape to it. 8. So that is our hamlet. I think that's okay. That will be our size of our hamlet. Let's hit save. Alright, so let's see what noble dwarf centers. We are checking Messenger. And Noble Dwarf. Oh, wow. Okay, so this is what Noble Dwarf has shared. This is going to be a Noble Dwarf Kickstarter. Well, they're nicely done. I like the pattern on that one. Almost looks like there's something glowing inside. Oops. There we go. So what are these, Noble? Like... I mean, they'd almost look like potion bottles, but describe what your next project is going to be, if you could. The Magical Draft of Malice. Explain. Alright, village. 200 buildings. 200 freaking buildings in a village. These are way larger than I thought they were going to be. 200 buildings on a little tiny half page. I think I'll do a Mott Bailey as an extension of this, by the way. But let's grab our sketch. And we need, I mean, that was like 25 buildings? 25? Was it 25? 25 buildings has got to become 200. That's 8 times the amount. And let's see what D&D says. D&D says for a village, yeah, approximately that. Well, D&D's actually got half the size of this RPG Works. And maybe I should be looking at the D&D one at this point. D&D says 400 to 900 people, so let's hit the middle ground on that. So let's say about 650 folks, right? So 650 divided by a calc. 130 buildings. So okay, not a massive difference, but 130 buildings. I probably need to make a note of that. 100. Oh, come on. Bush. 130 buildings is what a village needs. Interesting. So this one was how many buildings are in this? 25? Was that right? 25? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20. Yeah, approximately right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Okay. So we're doing 5 in that, 25 in that, 130 in this. Okay. Alright, the Magical Draft of Malice will be magic 8-ball potion bottles. Alright, so the last one they did was a Draft of Happenstance, which was a mix of 10 good and 10 bad potions. The Malice will be all bad. Well, I'm not drinking it then. The purple bottle is a Magical Draft of Virtual, okay, and it's 20 good. The flame will have 20 random spells in it. So you shake it and look at the bottom type of thing? That's kind of cool. They look awesome. They look beautiful. If you were drawing a Romans type city of say 250,000, well, I would probably do something similar. Or like I'd take 5. No, actually, let me take a step backwards. Core, assume 5 or 6 people per building. However, they had the actual apartment blocks, right? And so then they're going to vary in size, but you're going to get multiple families in them. So I think you could probably even divide by 10 or 20. And as long as you've got a good smattering of the larger apartment blocks in there, that you could then assume, because they were like 2, 3, 4 stories tall, right? You're gonna get 20 plus families in one of those. So that's kind of how I would approach it. I would actually just divide more aggressively. And if I divide by 10, I'm gonna draw that many buildings, and I gotta make sure some of them look like apartment blocks. So for you, Miss J, I mean, 250,000 is large. That's not insignificant at all. I mean, I would be looking at, an impossible amount of buildings for you to draw. You'd have to draw so many bloody buildings. I think but you know my style. I tend to then start to draw insinuations of groups of buildings together, and they form these larger shapes, right? And then, I mean, you're looking at metropolis size right there. You're looking at a very large city. So you're not going to be drawing individual buildings. Mash them together. You got to mash them together, and then you do the shapes. I mean, I don't know if this one is not a great example of that, because I used to draw and do the individual buildings in them. But if you look at this here, I mean, that shape is... Why is that not working? That shape is basically... What? Oh, because I'm actually... that's sitting on top. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, that shape is basically this. Oh, come on. What the hell now? Okay, thank fuck. Anyway, the shape is freaking out. And this is how I tend to draw my shit nowadays. I mean, you've seen me do that. And then just make that smaller. That's an insinuation of a group of like 10 to 20 buildings. That's how I tend to do it. Alright. So, village, 130 buildings. Yowzers. And honestly, I think Miss J, you know, a lot of people assume that I'm counting the individual buildings. I don't. For me, it's, does this look like there could be 250,000 people living there? And that's what you've got to do. I don't think when you start getting even to the point of 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, I would argue the difference between 20,000 and 40,000 is probably not that great visually. Visually, does it feel like there's 20 to 40,000 people that could be here? And for that, I think you start getting almost into an abstract sort of sense of density and building sort of population, you know? And that's, honestly, that's almost just more gutting it. It's like some of the buildings I showed earlier, you could probably look at it and go, that looks like maybe 10,000 people live there. And that's just visually kind of just getting a vibe for what you're looking at, right? And you aren't even counting it up. And I think that's what you got to do. And if you're doing 250,000, I think you need dense. Like, you need denser than that. Well, yeah, I think so. I think if I was going to do 250,000, you're probably going to end up with, if you're drawing it sort of paper size, regular sort of paper size, I think you're going to end up with some, what I want to say, almost solid blocks in a way, you know? But I wouldn't go less than this, you know? I think you need something like that. A3 is pretty large. That sounds like a fun project you're working on. 250,000 on A3? I mean, that's cool. A3 is fantastic. That's going to be a big project. I mean, that's like the TechUML type of thing that I did. That's a big project. Alright, so what I want to do is, can you talk about the project at all, Mr.? 130. 130 in the same size. The same size. 25, 50, so that's 100. I guess that would be 100, right? That's about 100. Okay. tempted to still have the majority of the village down here. We'll do something like this, I think. Did that do? Yep, that worked. Let's take our bush size down just a speck. Coastal city, ancient Roman style. Some canals, couple of districts, a few big walls. Sounds like a fun project. Sounds like a fun project. A3, 250,000. Not an insignificant project. Not insignificant at all. Just actually, yeah, okay. Bit scary. Well, you're working almost full time on this, right? I mean, I'm thinking that you're probably hitting about 150 hours on something like that. Thank you. I think you're hitting about 150 hours or so, but if you think about it, what is that? A month of work? Fully coloured, I assume. Yeah, but you're good with your settlements. So it's like, I mean, your city maps are really nice. You take one of your city maps, you do 4 of them, on the same piece of paper. And just make sure you get plenty of villas and the likes in there. You've seen me draw villas. I did a lot of villas on Gaxmore. You just do that type of thing. As long as you've got some like a hippodrome, a coliseum, villas, maybe some aqueducts, it's gonna feel Roman. You know, it just will feel Roman. Alright, so we're not drawing the entire village, of course, but I do want to now start to invoke shape and things like that here. Maybe we take this and it starts going up the side of the river. Maybe we'll have a hill. Maybe we'll do a hill. Maybe the reason why they didn't originally come over to this side, less fertile, but also maybe it's more rocky over here. Feel like we'll change the shape of the river too, so it's a little bit more visually interesting. But maybe we do something like this. We get some contours going on, and maybe that will allow us to we'll throw like a windmill up the top here. That will allow us to actually have an excuse to bring down like a path, and then maybe that is gonna. But have they got a bridge? Have they got a bridge at this point? Would a village of like about 600 people have a bridge, or do you think that they are existing off a ferry? I think that they would do a ferry. Bridges are really fucking expensive. And I think we'll use that as an excuse as one of the differentiators when we actually go up into town. The only thing, Miss J, I think even at A4, no, you could do it. I was going to say, your scale is going to be so small that your villas are going to be small. But I think you could also just do, like, what looks like organised gardens with villas around it, you know? Have that sense of culture there. Yeah, we're gonna do ferry. We're gonna do ferryman's house. In fact, this guy is actually built a little bloody extension. This guy, we're going to show a little bit of growth in this too. Yeah, public parks, exactly. The thing that sort of shows, what is the phrase? What is it? Like urban, not urban development, but you know, fuck. I want to call it culture, but you know, it's not that. It's when like that urban infrastructure, that sense of parks and recreation and stuff, that sort of shows a slightly more elevated level of civilization, and I think that would start to invoke a sense of Roman, right? And then honestly, a lot of it's in your colouring. Terracotta, right? As long as you do terracotta, it's gonna feel way more Mediterranean. All right. So we've got some farms, and we're definitely gonna continue with that. So. I don't think we could draw 130 buildings, but I want to kind of get the sense of what the shape of this village is going to be, and maybe another building is cropped up here. And I want it to feel kind of huddled, right? We're gonna grow a little village square. We're not at the village stage yet. I don't think. Oh, we are at the village stage. So let's get a square in this. I think we're gonna knock down some buildings. Why would they have a road that's doing this? Well, oh yeah, actually we need to get a well and shit like that. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna start moving the heart of this village, I think. They've got fresh water supply in the river. Don't need probably a well at this point, but people are only gonna go so far for the water. Let's start moving the heart of things. Yeah, Miss J, I actually ended up being really happy with the colouring of my Vicodon, right, is the one I finished. And I just swatched the Mediterranean countryside. You saw me do it. You were there in the stream. And I actually really like how the colouring of that came out. I think that was actually pretty Mediterranean. So I know you're going to nail it. Let's do. All right, so we're gonna start seeing a growth of a village, like away from the water. Not everything just like huddles of water line, right? Next to water, there can be like problems with like the soggy ground. There can be problems with bugs. There can be a problem with tidal influences. So let's start pulling our village away a little bit. They're less reliant now on the fishing over there. So I think though we're gonna definitely have a little bit of growth on this side as well. But it's sparse growth. There's less going on here. How do I want to do this? How do I want to do this? Let's offset this. Let's offset this and let's create like a house back here. And then alright, we've got a little bit here. We'll do this. This is hooking around the back. Maybe someone lives kind of close. And you know what? We'll have a little bit of an industry starting here too. We'll get like a little lumber guy or something in here. Alright. And that will kind of go out, and we'll get some farms in these areas. And then I think what we're gonna do, I want to keep things sort of feeling, I don't want to say super dense, but I kind of want to get the focus right here. So I think to do that, let's get some dirt roads coming around the back here. We'll have farms all the way around. And we're going to make sure that we're just around 100 to 125 sort of building ratio without drawing them all tonight. And you know, there's definitely going to be a tavern, right? There's definitely going to be a tavern in here too. A couple of larger buildings. Couple of dudes that have actually got a little bit of cash are beginning to creep in. Yeah, this is beginning to have a nice shape. I'm generally okay. I think I'm okay with this. Welcome, Noble. You are welcome. How do I want to do this? Let's start thinning out that. Let's assume that there's some kind of freaking hill or something here, right? And yeah, I think, no, I'm not going to do another one. I'm going to assume some more farms in here. But away from the water is going to start getting a little bit like so. Maybe something like this. Maybe something like this. Got a couple of barns and things out back. If I know, I don't know how many buildings I've done. It's almost like I wish I had a little counter. So every time I did one, I'd go ding, ding, ding. I don't know how many is on there, but I'm gonna insinuate something in the region of about 130. Someone has got someone's got goats and shit up here, right? Up in the hills. That's what's going on here. It's like they're eking over onto the other side of the water. Why? What is over there? Well, I don't want to be so on the nose to like add a bloody gold mine or something. That would really influence things. But you know, we've got a windmill up there, but we've also got some like sheep herders or goat herders. Not as dense. Not as dense by any stretch of the imagination. It's less fertile over here. But we're going to start growing over here a little bit. When we actually draw that, I might increase the density a little bit, but something like that. So we have our little thorp, we have our hamlet, we have our village. I'm actually okay with that. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do the keep, the Motte and Bailey, and the fortified military camp in the same context. Because obviously something like that is not going to have a fortified military camp right now. But I think we might add them here. So the question is town now. I think town would be a zoom in of this. And I'm kind of drawing like this area right here. And I'm thinking that eventually they add like the bridge, you know. Am I drawing that area? I mean, we can modify this map however we want. I mean, we could say that we're actually, you know, the village was founded here. That would be kind of cool. And I'll draw some outbuildings and everything. Then maybe as the village kind of grew, and there's our hills and stuff up here. So, you know, we've got our little windmill up the top here. So there'd have to be some, and we'll draw the village, we'll actually draw all of the farms and everything in here. The question is, what would force a big relocation further down the river? Or maybe it's nothing other than defensive. The village, so if the village grew into a town, the town maybe, did the town go up on the hill? Did they actually start like more populating over here? And this becomes the original town right here. That'd be kind of cool. Without the walls. And maybe it's the elevation of that hill. When they get to a certain point, they're actually able to... Why would they do that? Why would they build... Well, I mean, they could build up onto the hill, right? I mean, that's a good defensive position. Also, being on a hill, you don't have, like, the water running down on you. Maybe we build on top of a hill. With the village... Maybe the village then is kind of doing this type of thing. In the back in the day. Maybe that becomes our shape. So let's take something like that. Let's take something like that. Now, according to Forgotten Realms Wiki, are we doing a small town or just straight to a town? Yeah, they got a small town, small city, large city. We've got town, city, metropolis. So we've got 3, and they've got 5. Alright, so I guess... Well, but they also have town... City with fortifications. City with fortifications, half the size of a town. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. That's what we're here for, right? Well, let's see how something like this would work. If we take this, and we actually go... something like that. Is that the way to do it? I probably need... Yeah, okay. Did I hit copy? There we go. Yeah, you know what? Let's actually take this. Alright, we are going to use this as our basis for our town. Okay. Alright, but for our town, we are not going to have these walls. Oh, you know what we should do, actually? Let's just throw a little bit of multiply in there. Alright, we're not going to have these walls. We will keep like the forestry, etc. there. But our village, approximately, and we're getting into a whole different area of scale of drawing here. Let's get rid of all of our walls. But I am going to keep that bridge. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this. This is way more about them being up on the hill than anything else. Alright, so it's going to be something like this. You know, maybe they've got a church up there. Maybe they've got a church up there. Next to godliness, everyone kind of started wanting to be up on the top of the hill as well. Maybe that was the thing. By the time you get to a town, you introduce a temple or something. Starts changing the dynamic. People want to be around the temple. Land value increases. And what I think I'm going to do is we're going to keep this. I'm going to really throttle back on this. Now, how many buildings do we need for a small town? Are we doing a small town? That's 1,000. That's 250 buildings. That's not large enough. Let's do a large town. Large town, 2,500. All right, divided by 5. What is that, about 500? Yeah, 500 buildings. So we've got to get 500 here for the town. And we are going to get rid of all of this. They're not at this stage yet. They're not at this stage. They're going to build down there. But not yet. In the future of this town. Then we'll get rid of all of this. And I think we're going to make it kind of clustered around the hill. That's what I'm kind of thinking. And this is only meant to be a draft to get a little bit carried away, but... And so, our little village was actually located... Oh, look, I actually did 2 hills over here. So what if, you know, this was kind of our windmill right here, and our little village was... Oh, actually, adding a stream to the village would be a good idea. But our village was kind of like in this area. So we'll kind of do this. We'll bring out the village like this. Things have got a little bit more populated on the other side though, so we'll do something like this. I'll bring it up here, and we'll actually start to come up towards this town. And we're going to draw about like this sort of size, and we're going to just populate this entire area, and this will be farms and such right here. Now, what I want to do though is I want to have this concept of maybe I'm not sure this would exist in reality. I mean, maybe in a delta situation. I'll be redrawing a lot of this, but you know, it's fine to have a delta. Fuck it, it's fine. So we're gonna keep the delta right here, and because it's visually confusing to the eye, we're gonna get rid of how I used to draw rivers. Let's get rid of this. I don't think we're going to do quite that. It's going to be something similar to that. But we'll, I think we'll have like this kind of coming up onto the hill. Where's it going to come up onto the hill? We'll give it something like this. Towards the temple, towards the church. And all of this area here will be filled in with houses. And we'll do here as well, filled in with houses, and of course here. So that is actually going to become our town on the hill and spilled down. And this is just going to be, you know, Dead Island, you know, with the delta kind of doing whatever. Which means a city. I'm actually thinking, alright, so growth of a city into a metropolis. Definitely. So on this here, let's just rasterize this layer. Oh. Alright, so we are going to have like the old village here, right? And here. And here. So basically, you know, all of this is going to be a spillover of buildings. What if this is the old town? Do they find wealth in the hills over here? Or is it as the town grows into a city, it actually ends up being a trade hub, right? They conquer the challenges of the river delta. They don't do the boatyard yet. They do this shipyard that would actually come later, maybe when they hit the metropolis. And I used to draw like docks like a right idiot. This is an old map. But maybe this side of the city Maybe this side of the city forms our basis, and so if we take that, and maybe they haven't come out here yet, or if they have, maybe it's just a trickle, right? They haven't got all of these walls. Maybe they're spilling down here a little bit and they're spilling on here a little bit, but they don't have this big huge castle and shit. They don't have all of these outer walls. Question is, can we get most of this here? So I'm kind of backing myself into a corner in a way. Trollord Games just wanted an example of a town, an example of a city, and by me evolving one into another, I'm creating work for myself, which I'm trepidatious about. But it's kind of an interesting concept, which I'm finding hard to shake. But is that going to be distracting to the narrative that they want to do? Or is that going to be just a cool addition? I don't know, I feel like we could run with it a little bit. I feel like we could. They don't have a narrative. No. Trollord Games is not doing the narrative angle. I feel like we've created a narrative angle for ourselves. So I really want to get in a good chunk of this. But maybe they're not there yet. Maybe they're just not there yet. Maybe we do something more like this. Let's bring it out like so. I think this could work if we do this right. Let's get rid of this. Don't need it. Yeah, this could be pretty brutal. What's the point of this layout? Not sure I understand the question, Miss J. You were on the stream when we did it. I'm pretty sure you were. Miss J, it is 12 maps, right? I could do one map and as an independent drawing and independent file, and do another map, independent drawing, independent file. But I also thought it would be really freaking cool because there are some that are quarter pages and some that are half pages, and so I needed to at least understand the layout on a page by page basis. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to just do them on one canvas. It's not a layout thing, it's a canvas. I did, by the way, pitch the idea of a poster. They really liked it. So this is a layout because I thought A, visually super sexy, and B, could be a cool poster, right? And I knew you were there for that conversation. That's the purpose of this layout. It goes no further. This is not something I'm going to hand to them. They're going to put in the book exactly like this. When they print the book, that will be on one page. That will be a quarter of a page, and I'll have some writing next to it. But you're the one that even suggested last time, are we, going to do like an evolving sort of city? And I couldn't shake that. I was like, it would be kind of nice to do at least some of these panels are an evolved version of an earlier panel. That's it, but that's all us. What is the Trollord project for? Castle Keeper's Guide. It's a Kickstarter that they funded a few months ago, where at least part of the book is talking about basically what I thought Shivering Sorcery was doing. where they say, so this is a barony. In a barony, you have a village. This is a typical village. This is how many houses you would have, how much population. And they talk about a village versus a thorp versus a hamlet. That's what this book is going to be about. Wrong one. I thought you knew that. Sorry, Miss J. I thought you knew that. So if we're doing town, I don't think the town would have done this yet. I don't, you know, they're not here. They're not here like this yet. Maybe they got a little bit going on. In fact, what is, this is not a town, this is a city. A city, alright, a city is, wow, 19,500. 3,900 buildings. That is not happening. All right. They don't have docks here. Not yet. Not yet. Let's get rid of these. That's not the way we do things now. Come on, come on. Let's get rid of you. Let's get rid of you. I'm gonna get rid of you too. You don't exist yet. Not on this timeline. It was such a funny way that I used to do water. Such a funny way. I much prefer the way I do it nowadays. And, you know, just approximately speaking, alright, there's an island. There's an island here. So, we'll have buildings here. I'm not sure how far down here we're going to go, but I think we're going to terminate it right about there. But this is almost a little bit how Paris got formed. I mean, they started on the island, but then they started to spill either side. So here, let's actually bring this up. They're not that far down the island yet, but they are beginning to occupy this zone. Now, I actually think it's funny that there's not another bridge going across the water there. Like from here to here. So I think I'm going to draw one. When we actually redraw sections of this map, we're going to draw a bridge. I'm not sure these guys are at that point yet, but if there's a freaking big city on the other side, I'm feeling that they are. I'm feeling they are. And you know what? These look so bad. Let's just redraw them real quick. Okay, you can get rid of you, get rid of you. Definitely, you don't have walls. You don't have walls. And alright, we've got shit going on at the top. Whatever. I don't really want to like. I'm not gonna at this point get into removing these walls. Not yet. Because it destroys the map, but if I get rid of the towers, it'll give us a sense for what we're looking at. This city is not a fortified city. They have not built walls. They don't have reason to yet. Another elevation, another temple. And I think you don't exist. You don't exist yet. Maybe there's a little bit in here. No, so, well, does that feel like 3,900 or, well, I suppose maybe they start to, like, you know, trickle down the island here. Maybe they're spilling out over here. Like, if we populate those areas a little bit. I guess the question is, does the one on the right feel 8 times larger than the one on the left? Well, if we delete enough on the one on the left, it could. I think so. I think so. This one actually in the middle here will be kind of cool because it's going to be an elevated city on a hill with a spill out of buildings out below, off the hill, either side of the river. I think that actually be kind of interesting. And then so it has evolved, and it evolves spreading to the south, let's call it, following the river estuary to the point where they actually create docks, and around the docks we've got growth. And there's another hill here which they start to build on, very Rome-like. Yeah, I think so. I think so. If you actually look at, like, I actually think that the map for Light Harbor, while as detailed as it is, the volume of buildings, I mean, you counted the buildings. I think the volume of buildings is greater than the population of 2,900. That's wrong, right? Alright, anyway, you're out of here. See ya. Alright, so metropolis, 25,000. 25,000 divided by 5. 5,000 buildings. I think when it comes to drawing these, what we're going to do, let's say with this town, is we're going to draw the hill, and we said, okay, so the town has established itself up on the hill, almost like Italian style. I start to imagine these Italian towns up on the hills and stuff. And so I think we could start to say they're starting to think about defensive things. But what we'll do is we might actually, you know what? That's exactly what we're going to do. This is going to be our temple right here. And that's what they've kind of like built around. And it's only in a later iteration that another temple is built. lot of freaking work here. There's a lot of work here. So I'm thinking it's going to be something like that. Let's save. So the city with fortifications, I'm not sure we can do much for the city with fortifications. I like within the timeline here without something getting screwed up. We've got half a page to work with. Unless we're showing a section of the city. I'm gonna have to think about that. Oh, I see what Nebaldorf was saying. He was saying the building count. And it was a fairly high building count, but it was like 2,900. Almost 3,000 buildings on the Light Harbour map. So, this is larger than Light Harbour. And Light Harbour was a lot of hours. So we're not drawing any Light Harbour here. We have this is going to be an exercise of insinuating buildings. And honestly, I feel like we might even have to hit a different style where it's and we did something similar actually with the Two King Games map, where we coloured in blocks that were the city versus individual buildings. I think that's what we're going to end up doing here. I'm not sure what to do with the city with fortifications. Particularly with the aspect ratio that we've got. Unless we do like the new part of the city here. You know, that could be interesting. If we rotate it on an angle too, like if we take this. Oh, what if we actually take this? Oh, okay. And if we zoom out a little bit, we come over here, we grab this, move this up, but we actually... What if we actually did it this way? That could be an interesting way of doing it. That's like a zoom in. Oh, sure, we'll redraw the, like all of this. But city with fortifications, I think that implies city with, I like that. That's actually an interesting cut in too. I like the fact that the city's actually bleeding off the edge. I'm okay with that. That'd be a good scale for city with fortifications, I think. Yeah. Alright, then that will just leave us with the keep, Mont Bailey, 45 military camp, castle, and greater castle. I think we could actually start working tomorrow on the thorp and the hamlet. And we're going to just start working our way through them. I think that's what we're going to do. I think this is the general approach. Yeah, I think this is going to work. Alright, so tomorrow night I am going to draw a thorp. Shouldn't take long. We should hopefully be able to really knock it out tomorrow. we're going to draw thatched roofs and everything. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. We're going to zoom way in. We're going to do lots of detail, even on a little area like this. At some point, I'm going to draw the frame, because I then want to take that frame and I want to put it on all of these suckers. But, so we're going to do the thorp and we're going to do the hamlet. We're going to work on those two first, and then we're going to do the village after that. And that, yeah, it's going to be good. These are going to get heavy redraws, but those would be at least the zoom in levels that we're going to do with the general shape. Even if there's some redrawing involved, obviously. And then we're going to remove the colour blocks. But that's it. So that's kind of where we're at. I think that's a good point to stop. I'm going to share this with Trollord, get their general buy-in for our approach. They can at least buy into the fact that of the settlement sizes, and the fact that we're kind of evolving one into another. Then make sure that they were down with the concept before we waste too many hours, right? Until then, I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to continue mapping. I love you all. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you on Hump Day. Miss J, I know you're there already. Love you all.